We are live. We are back with the Get Up Girl. I am Joanna Vargas, your host and your gal, and I'm here with one of my besties, Pinky Magana. Pinky, welcome back to the show.
Woo! Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be on today.
I am too, because we're going to be talking about something that I don't think we're talking about enough, and especially in 2022 with the rising costs of living and inflation. We're going to get into that. Pinky, if you haven't listened before, is our resident money gal. And I always bring her on every so often, at least every 2 months. And we talk about money. We talk about, especially like for females, and things that we can be educated on. And I feel so much more, I'm going to use the word uh, calm. And also, like, I feel good knowing that my money is working for me. And I do want to state this as well, Pinky, before we jump in. This is a learned skill. This is not something where you take a 60-minute money course and you're like, I'm done. I got it. That's my biggest takeaway, Pinky. Like, this is a learned, developed skill. And before, in my 20s, I thought it was read one book and I'm done. Oh, I
Right.
got it. I have all the answers. And then so I would beat myself up because I didn't change my money situation that fast. So then I go, oh, it doesn't work. And then I didn't do it and I got discouraged. Very similar to fitness. And we've talked before, like I like to talk about money and fitness. It's very, very similar where we want this quick fix and, it just doesn't work. So let's jump in and I want to talk about inflation, Pinky. So every year, how much does inflation go up?
On an average, inflation goes up maybe 3 or 4%. Right now, where we're at,
Yeah.
it's never, I don't remember the last time that this happened, but I mean, the Great Depression, it's probably even more. It's at 7.5%.
7.5. So it's double,
It's
right?
doubled.
Somebody's at my front. Sorry, I'm busy. Okay, keep going. But it's doubled. Now, why has it doubled? Because of the pandemic? Because of things that have happened in the last 2 years?
Yes, I mean everything is just piling up and compounding together with the pandemic, with business being shut down, with people losing their jobs, people quitting their jobs, and
Yeah.
it's just affecting everything, and it's affecting all of us. So now it's shooting up so high, it's wild. Where I'm like, how are people going to keep up?
Yeah. Pinky, I know you do a lot of studying with money. Have the experts, have they said that the 7.5 is going to keep going up, or is it going to keep at 7 and no longer be the 3 and the 4%?
I mean, it's really hard to predict, but they just know that, hey, this is where it's at right now.
Mhm.
And it's going to keep, I mean, it is going to keep, I don't know if it's going to keep moving up. Hopefully it'll stabilize. But even if it stabilizes at
It's
7%,
it's still a lot.
people are going to, it's going to, unfortunately, it's going to make the middle class, it's going to eliminate the middle class pretty much. It's just going to make people more poor into deeper debt and just kind of just drowning and climbing, trying to climb up the ladder and keep up with it.
And keep up with the Joneses. Okay, right now in 2022, Pinky, what is middle class? What is the average to say that you're middle class
Middle class is probably, and it's not, it's not much, maybe 100 grand, 200 grand a
for a
year.
household?
For a household that
Okay.
will be considered middle class. It can be between, I mean, yeah, 75 to about 200. And then after, I mean, to be in the 1%, you only need to be making about 400,000 a year. So it's not, and
It's not that
nowadays
big of a
that's
jump.
not, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that big of a jump. But if people don't keep up, it's going to eliminate that middle class. So it's just going to be really, really rich people and really, really poor people.
Do you think this is what I think, but back at least when you and I were kids, six, and maybe it still is the same, but six figures was like six figures. That was equivalent to like making 1 million a year back in the day before the inflation, right? But I still think we're brainwashed to think six figures and you're good, meaning like you're comfortable. I have six figures, but I still think it's something to strive for, the six figures. But now it's not, I'm going to say, enough to live comfortably. We're still like keeping up and keeping up. Do you all talk about the six-figure mentality when you're studying money?
I mean, six figures, like we say, we always mainly talk about like the financial independence number. What's your financial independence number? And it's really not about how much we're making right now. It's how much is are we going to need for retirement?
Mhm.
So six figures is not going to be enough. You know, my son, I call him my first automatic millionaire.
Yeah.
But when he hits those million, that million is not going to be really a big of a deal
The
for
way it is now. Yeah,
yeah.
when he's 21 years old, it's gonna be equivalent, like I said, looking up to six figures when we were young.
Yeah, exactly. And so with our FIN number, people don't realize we're going to need over 5 million into an account just to
Mhm.
cover basics. Just covering basic. It's not even something fancy or just
Vacations, no, basic.
food alone.
Food alone, electricity, water, basics to live when you and I are, 60, 70 years old.
Yeah, we'll at least need for basics maybe at least 3 million.
Hmm. At what age would you and I average need 3 million? At 60 years old?
What do you mean?
70? Like if I need 3 million, right, for the basics, how old average would we be? Would is it good to have the 3 million at 60 years old, at 70 years old, at 80 years old?
Where it really it's whenever you want it. We just kind of use the average retirement age, which is 65. But let's say you want to retire at 55 and you want to live financially independent till you're 85. How much money
Right.
do you need within those times? So
3
the way
million.
we calculate it, we just calculate it, and it's the most basic from 65 to 85. We're assuming you're going to live until 85. That's 20 years. You
20
need
years.
at least 3 million for those 20 years.
20
If
years.
you want to stretch it out, you're going to have to increase that.
Yeah, and if you want to live to 100, we're gonna need a little bit more money. Yeah,
Yeah.
or you need uh assisted living and care. Yeah. Because even assisted living for just a basic is like 5 grand a month. That's just
Yeah.
basic. That's just the lowest end. And you're lucky if somebody talks to you at 5 grand a month. Wow. Okay. This is so great. Now, let's go into, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And I want you to explain this to us.
Perfect. Okay. So this is the cash flow quadrant. This is just four different ways to make income. This is something that Robert Kiyosaki wrote in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad. He mentions the cash flow quadrant and he just talks about where everybody is. So this cash flow quadrant, there's four different ways to make money. Most of us, if you look at this cash flow quadrant, most of us are on the left side. This is all we learned. You learn to be an employee, you're making money, but you have a job. But now you're just trading time for money. You can have two, three, four jobs, but there's only 24 hours in a day. So if you don't show up, you don't make any money. You have to show up. And then you go down and you have the self-employed. Now you own a job. Now you can, you pick your own hours when you work, when you don't work, but you still have to show up. This is maybe
Yep.
like a hairstylist or a nail tech or even like a
Yeah.
real estate agent. If they don't sell a house, if they don't show up, they're not going to make any money. So you're
Yeah.
still trading time for money. But
Small
most
business owner. Yeah.
yeah, and exactly. They have to be there 60, 70, 80 hours a week if they don't show up and open those doors. So most of us are on the left side of the quadrant because that's all we learned.
Yep.
So what we want to do is we want to get to the right side of the quadrant.
Hmm.
So the right side, this is when you become a business owner. You own a system. The best way that I can explain it is like McDonald's. You don't see the business owner flipping burgers. He has a whole bunch of teenagers or young people, working the fries, the shake, and any McDonald's that he has, he can have 10 different McDonald's. They all run the same. So they're running in a system. He's just generating that income.
Yeah,
Picks up.
Pinky, this is so great because I want to jump in here. If anybody is listening to the podcast right now and you cannot see, You can also go to my Facebook or YouTube and also watch this video. But in case you can't see it, there's a box and there's a line like a cross. And on the left side, there is E and S. So the first one that Pinky said is employee, and underneath is self employed. So I'm going to explain it like this, Pinky, because even though I am a business owner and I no longer have a brick and mortar, but I
Mm-hmm.
did a studio and a fitness studio, I'm still going to categorize it as self employed
Mm-hmm.
because if I didn't show up, I still taught the lessons. I did have people work for me, yet I was still a big part of the business. So
Right.
when you go, but in my head, Pinky, I thought I was a B. So when you go to the right side, then you have B and I, and Pinky will explain the I. So I want to distinct that from the S to the B. If you're self employed and you own a small business, but it still requires you, if you were to get hit by a bus and the business can still run, then, I mean, there was moments, Pinky, when I had the fitness studio that it could run without me, but
Right.
yet it was still very highly me. So I'm going to place myself on the left. I don't think I've ever really been a B. So
Right.
this is very distinct. Okay, keep going with the B, hun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, so business owner, you have a McDonald's, you have 10 different McDonald's, they're running on its own, you go and pick up that paycheck. And then you become a business owner, you eventually want to get into the I, the investor.
Mm,
This is when you own investments. This is when
yeah.
your money is working for you. Like they say, while you sleep, you have your little money soldiers that have no feelings. Let me just remind you, they
I
have no
love that.
feelings. Put them to work.
They have no feel.
And
I love that, Pinky. I've never heard of it that way. I mean, I've heard of soldiers, but they have no feelings. They're like robots. Okay.
yeah, you gotta put them to work. So the investor, you want to get to that. And I mean, if you're making money in all quadrants, great.
Hmm.
But the like I mentioned before, we were never taught how to get to the right side, to the B and the I. We just know E and S.
Mm.
And people think they're always looking for financial security. So they go and look for another job.
Or
And
another
then,
S, another self
right.
employment.
We're like,
Girl,
okay, because you can have five different sources of income.
as
Mhm.
I, and then the pandemic hit and lost them all.
Yeah, because you had to
Instant.
keep showing up or you had
Dang.
it was just dependent on you. And it's really to get to the right side, it's about financial intelligence. It's not about how much money you make. You can make a $2 million on the E quadrant. You can make $2 million on the S quadrant,
Uh-huh.
but it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, how hard you put that money to work for you, and how many generations you keep it.
Wow.
That's
Pinky, mind blown right now. Financial intelligence. Because I never thought I saw it this way, but I didn't until you were saying I had 5 S's in beginning
mhm,
of 2020. March 2020, I had 5 S's. And I heard a gazillion times, you know, have many different sources of income. So I did. And
right.
then they all went belly up, every single one.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, okay. I did not have the I, a little bit of the I, but not really.
Mhm.
But I thought, Pinky, and I really want people to get this, that I thought I had 5 B's. I had 5 S's.
And most of us think that we're like, oh, I have my own tattoo shop or I have my own salon. And then that's when they're starting, if you're in your salon, you're renting a little space to do what you do, you're
Mhm,
still self-employed. But if you have a salon and now you have 10 hairstylists, now you're
mhm.
creating a system. You don't have to be there at all times. If you can go on vacation, your money should still be making money for you. And this inflation is really scary. I mean, I know we like to have fun
Yep.
on your podcasting, but it's really, really scary. People
Uh-huh.
really need to take this seriously.
Yep.
The inflation, what are people's plans to grow their income to keep up with the lifestyle? To
Mhm.
keep up. Now the grocery store, you go to the grocery store and it's $100 average, and I only get a few
For a few
items.
days. Yeah.
It's for a few days, and then we have to go grow in. how are we going to keep up if our money's not working for us, if we're still in the left side of the quadrant? So
Mhm.
people really need to start learning this stuff, gaining more financial intelligence, because all we know is employee and self-employed, you're trading time for money.
Wow. Okay, I'm a little blown because I'm still thinking about everything that just came up right now. So let's review, Pinky, because like I said, this is a learned skill. I've seen this quadrant 1,000 times and I still forget it. You know, it's
Hmm.
one of those things, like if you asked me, I couldn't remember it. So I want us to review again from left to right. So let's say we're starting at 11 o'clock on a clock. 11 o'clock is E for employee. You have a W 2 or a 1099 and you exchange time for money.
Hmm.
Then you go down. So if you go down to 7 o'clock, you have S for self employed. And I think a lot of creations that started in 2020, Pinky, are self employed. You know, a lot of people left their job security
Yeah.
and then they're like, now I'm going to start my own business, but also maybe did not look to the right side of the quadrant, right? So then you have the top quadrant, which is 2 o'clock, and we have business owner. Let's be clear. Again, this means when a business can run without you. There's systems and procedures that are running, and you do not need to be there. Then we move to the bottom right, which is I, which is investor, financial intelligence, where your money, your soldiers that have no feelings go out and work for you and keep multiplying and having orgies and multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. Yes.
Exactly.
And I had a big aha. That's why I got really quiet because I was lost for words. I feel I have more space right now, Pinky. Like after the pandemic, I have more space. I am still like physically busy.
Yeah.
However, and I just realized I am building the right side. And when I was building the left side, it was a false sense of security that
Mm.
I'm building more money, but actually it was a false sense. And I have more space, more intelligence financially, and I'm building the right side. So I feel pretty good.
This is awesome. I love it. I love it. That's really exciting because, and especially, and thank you for being so transparent and so vulnerable, because people do still think, oh, I own a business. I've seen so many people create such amazing things, and with whether it's crafts or just creating whatever it is, but they're still self-employed. And I always think, oh my goodness, if you can't work, what is going to happen? If you can't make your arts and crafts, or if you can't, you have to keep showing up.
Yeah.
So I really, really want to instill and let people know you have to get to the right side,
Mhm.
because I mean, corporations, they're on the right side. They're in the B and the I side. Why can't we? The same way we feel, well, I want to create my own business and be self-employed. Well, why can't I get to the B and I side? But they just never taught us that.
Mm. I have this question a lot, Pinky, because after just a couple months ago, I got a job teaching fitness at a studio. And it was funny because I always said, I'm never going to work for anybody else. Like, never say never. And
Right.
it has been such a gift for me. And the biggest gift that I've received, Pinky, is that I'm choosing it because I would like to, not because I have to right now. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to throw that out there. If you're on the left side, is it out of choice or out of necessity? Because is the right side working for you? And are you creating those legs of the chair, the four legs of the chair, so that, yeah, I'm going to go have this job on the side because it's fun, because it's enjoyable. I've always wanted to be that older lady at Disneyland, taking tickets because it's fun, not
Yeah.
because I have to.
And that's the thing where, there's, like I said, there's nothing wrong with making money in all of the quadrants.
All of
And
them.
if you've never been, don't go quit your job
Mm-mm.
and say, oh, let me get to the S and then the B and the no, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no, no,
no.
no.
Keep that job, please. Keep the job. And then from that, use your job and that time and money that you're trading to invest into the S, and then get to the B, and then get to the I. and you can do
Mm.
this, do these simultaneously. So don't think like, oh, I have to jump and be a, no, 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 just
Mm.
do it, do it smart. There's a strategy that you can use, and then you can make money on all four. There's nothing, like you said, you love doing what you do and you're having a blast.
Yeah.
I see that you're having a blast doing it, because I was like, oh, she's gonna go work
Yeah.
for somebody else. But I'm like, no, she's doing it for her. She loves this.
Fun.
And at the same time, you're tapping into all the
Yeah.
quadrants right now,
And
which
going
is
back to like I have more space and I'm building the other ones. It might seem quiet, like, oh, Joanna's very different now, but I'm quiet because I'm working like a little beaver. Where past years, I thought that the busyness and the boss babe was like this, it was, like I said, a false financial. I thought I had something that was valuable. But it wasn't really that valuable. I mean, during the pandemic, it wasn't that valuable, but I thought it was, Pinky. Do you get what I mean?
I,
You know?
and I love that you said like the busyness, because that boss babe busyness, we're so busy, we're doing events, or we're working on our side hustle or
Mhm.
whatnot. But busy doesn't is that busy making you money? Is that money making money? And really it just comes down to money making money on top of it, like you said, orgies. Like, that is that what you're doing sustainable? And we think as boss babes and being super busy, but what are we creating? And that's when it comes down back to that financial intelligence. How much,
Mm.
it's not about how much money you're making, how much are you keeping, how much are you growing, how hard is it working for you, and how many generations you keep it. That, like, for me, that, just the same way, how many generations do we keep trauma? How many generations
Mhm.
do we keep passing that along? Let's pass this
It's on
stuff.
let's pass on money instead of trauma and craziness.
You know what I'm saying? Let's pass that on a little bit more.
Yeah. I just had a big aha, another one, Pinky, that I thought I was playing the long game. I thought I was playing the marathon when I was in the S part of the quadrant. But I was actually playing the sprint game. So I
Mm,
was busy, 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 busy beaver. I couldn't sustain that any much longer. I was like, I can't do this any much longer. I did it for 20 years. I hustled and grind and freaking killed myself.
yeah.
It was a blessing that the pandemic came so that it could give me space. But I thought it was the marathon. Even though 20 years feels like a marathon, it was still a sprint. And I didn't see it as a marathon like you're stating it, for generations and generations. That's a marathon. And I was looking for the quick 20 years so that then I could chill afterwards. That was the sprint.
Mhm.
Wow, what a big aha.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
awesome.
this is really good. Okay, last thing. Somebody listening is going, okay, well, I would like to get to the I, because you were stating, like, okay, keep your job, get to an S, B, set up your system so you don't have to be there. What is like the first thing that somebody can do, right?
To get to the right side of the quadrant,
Correct. They're not even close. What's the first thing?
they need to know what their purpose and their passion is. What is it that you like? And then really, because there's so much out there, and it just really, people think that they have to do a certain thing to become that business owner. But it's like, look for, there's so many systems out there, and really you got to create that system. Let's say you're a photographer and you're always taking pictures, and you only make money when you're taking pictures, but now you can make prints,
Oh, uh-huh.
and now you sell those prints. So now
Mm,
you're not actively working, your prints are being sold. So now you're creating a system. So different, like, for example, finding something that you can leverage. And honestly, the quickest thing as well is you can kind of jump into investor mode quickly, where you start putting your money to work for you. And
mhm.
that's when we start applying the rule of 72. So if you want to get to investor, apply the rule of 72. That way that your money, it could be 20, 30, $50 a month. It's starting to make money for you while you're
Mhm.
still trying to figure out the B quadrant. So
Love
that, I mean, that could be the fastest way. Like my son, he's in the I quadrant right now.
it. Mhm.
And just little by little, and eventually I'll teach him, hey, this is what you do to become a business owner. But he's in the I quadrant, and he started at year one. So you can
Mhm.
do that now till you figure out, what am I going to do?
Yeah, Pinky, I heard a couple years ago, and this was even before the pandemic hit. So I'm pretty sure it's probably even bigger now. That in back in the 50s, let's go back 70 years, it was a one household income up until 60s, 70s ish. And then the new thing was two household incomes. More females went to work, etc. Then rising costs went up in order to afford daycare. And now it's a two income per person, not even household. And I wonder if it's a three now. Because when I heard this, it was a two. So I think we're still living in the just the one income per person, and now it's two plus incomes per person, not per household anymore.
And back then, they knew how to make money with their money as
Mm,
well. And we lost that somehow. I don't know where we just weren't taught that. It's like for me, and I don't want to, hopefully I don't offend anybody, but the school system is a 200-year-old school system.
mhm.
We're now in AI, we're in metaverse, and we still have that same school system
Yep.
of 200 years. So things have changed. The banks are giving you 0.01%. Back then, in the 50, they were actually giving you 5-6% rate of return.
Yep.
So things have changed, and that's why we can't keep up. We're just kind of like drowning, and we're just like, let's just kind of stay afloat. And people don't know how to put their money to work for them anymore. That's changed. So that's why it worked before. That's why with one income you were able to buy a house, have a car, and stay at home mom, and it was all fine and dandy.
Also,
But now
think like
imagine with the 7.5%
yeah,
inflation.
can't keep up. I also think it was a very different lifestyle. I mean,
Mhm.
growing up, households maybe had one car, not two or three. Also, credit cards were not the way they are now, where it's just a touch. Credit cards back then was a lot more work to be done. So you're like, I'll just pay cash. So you waited for things more often. There was layaway. There was a different way to buy things. We did not need things right away, and I think we just buy things faster. So like you said, it's like this, like a little gopher trying to keep up because we just keep buying more and more stuff, right?
We've
Yeah.
just become consumers, and we want that instant
Consumers.
gratification.
Consumerism. That's the difference, because you just asked. That's growing up, it was like you just waited. And I don't see people waiting any longer, keeping up with the Joneses. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Anything else that you want to add in that people can do? Because there is one more thing I want to add, but anything else? So you said start with a system if you're a photographer or something of that nature to create that business and the systems. Anything else, Pinky?
Uh, Start open up accounts that are where you can apply that rule of 72. Start creating that generational wealth, put your money to work, open up you know if your savings you're getting 0.01% rate of return, at least
Mhm.
open up an online savings. Online banks are a little bit better, but I would open any kind of investment account. And not any, there's so much, like I said, like a doctor, there's so much. It's not a one size fits all, but something where if you put $50 in there, that $50 is going to make more than that 7%.
Mhm.
So that would be the easiest way.
Love it. Yes. And the one big thing that has changed my life ever since January 1st, 2022, I made the declaration, I made the demand of myself. I am going to pay myself 10%. So I still put money into the IUL, into an investment, And I pay myself 10% of any freaking dollar that comes in. If somebody gives me 75 cents, I put 7 cents, 0.5 into my savings. It's the act of moving it over
Yes.
because, Pinky, I had to get used to building the muscle of having money.
I love it. And
Not
now
saving.
you're telling you're telling your money where to go
And I'm
and what
telling
to
the
do.
universe, I'm telling God, I'm telling life, I come first. I'm sending the message that I come first.
I love it.
Yeah, and I've learned this, Pinky, 1,000 years ago, but I was not ready. I wasn't ready. I was being primed. I was like, no, but I need that 10%. I used every excuse in the book. No, I need it. This year, I made the demand of myself. I get paid first. So, what I've been noticing, Pinky, that I am now waiting to purchase stuff, where in the past, I would have not have waited. I would have just bought it with the 10%. I would have bought it with a credit card. Now I'm waiting. I'm like, no, because I want to get used to having that money and not touching it. Ooh, Pinky, this is a learned skill, girl. This is learned.
Isn't it funny that we don't find the value on paying ourselves first?
And
People flinch. Like, what? $200? What? You can put $100 away. That's 10% of what not. What?
ooh,
No.
$100.
And I got to pay those bills. You care more about your cable bill than you care more about yourself. And that's something that I have to learn too. That I'm like, I had to pay everybody first. I never in my life paid myself. I thought paying myself was going to work, getting my paycheck, cashing it, and putting it in my account.
That's
I thought that's paying myself. Durr.
yeah, you're so right. Like I didn't get it. But it was the act, and I'm going to say it again. I've said it before on this podcast, having money, not saving. Having and saving are different. Let's get real, people, because having money is different when you want to, it's burning a hole in your pocket and you got to spend it. It's the act of having it, not saving. I think we can all save. Can we have? I wonder if that's different. And I want to have that conversation more. The difference between saving and having and then spending. So you got the 3. No, 4, excuse me. Investing, spending, having, saving. Ooh, that's our new quadrant, Pinky. I like
I
that.
love
I'm
it.
writing
Write
that
it
down,
down.
girl, because that's
Write it
good.
down.
Oh,
I
that's
love
good.
that.
And
Having.
what side do you having and investing? So that's the side of the quadrant. Dang, that was a download from God. And spending and saving and having. But we think that saving and spending are the sides, but actually having and investing are different. Ooh, and that girl, it's been a learn, it's been a learned thing. It's been 2 months in, and I've been doing it. And I'm so proud of myself. And I want to keep talking about it to invite people to get used to the muscle of having money and carrying cash in your wallet. That's another one. I always carry cash in my wallet so that I know that I always have money. I know I have a credit card there, but it ain't the same as cash.
And yeah, like I love that. I'm still downloading the having. It's like keep okay. Yeah, I have $100 in my wallet. How long
Can
have
I
it? Like, are
Yeah,
you just because it does? It burns a hole, and you're like, oh, I got this
I got
$100.
I
How
got
long
it.
do you have that money?
Have it. Can you have it in your wallet and not spend it? Pinky, that's it. The other
That's
day I had $200 in my wallet, but it was all 20s. Oh, I learned that one. It's better if I have hundreds because I had the 20s and I slowly started spending it. 2 weeks. So it lasted 2 weeks. And I'm like, where did it go? Where did it go? 20 here, 30 there. Oh, I got it. Boom, 2 weeks. But I'm like, hey, 2 weeks is better than like 2 days in the past, Pinky. Like
It's-
a learned skill. Because I really wanted to keep that 200. Can I keep the 200 forever in there and just know that I just have it? Just knowing I got it.
I mean, and let's keep it real. I mean, just walking out of the house is cost $200.
That's your gas right there now.
Right? Like just walking out, I don't even want to leave my house. Like, oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Pinky, I
That's
love you.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have sent some people to you and you have helped change their financial reality. Like just sitting down. And I'm going to say the biggest thing that is your superpower is that you have this ability to receive people and never make them feel odd or weird to show you their nakedness
Yeah.
with their money, because you're getting naked when you show somebody your money. And so if anybody would like to have a Zoom call with Pinky, totally free. That's the thing. And Pinky's like, you're totally open to speak with them, and there is no sales call, nothing. She
Yep.
makes, there's no payment to her, and she will help you find your FIN, your financial independence number. Please follow her on Instagram. It'll be in the show notes. But again, what is it one more time? Just say it.
Pinky Sophia.
That's right.
Pinkysofia.
She's branding herself Pinky Sophia. Pinky, I love you and adore you. We'll definitely have you back again because we're always talking money. And I love that new quadrant. Let's make a little Instagram
Yes.
something post for that. Yeah.
I love it.
Love
I
and
love
adore
it.
you.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for having me. It's super, super fun having these conversations. And yeah, thank you.
And remember, this is a learned skill. Keep practicing, keep listening, keep reading books. This is not a quick one-time learn it all fix. Thank you, everybody. Let's get back up with our money. Let's create, let's invest, and we'll see you next time on the Get Up Girl.